What's going on, guys? This is Lior and welcome back to the channel. Now in this video, I'm going to be talking about what it's like and what it's going to be like to buy a multifamily around the Boston area in 2022. Now you have to know, and you probably know if you've been following real estate, that multifamily has been extremely competitive for most of 2021. It's remained to be one of the most competitive segments of the real estate market. You know, there's just so much demand for it, especially in the best markets around Boston. So I'm gonna give you guys my thoughts on what it's gonna take to be competitive in order to buy multifamily in Boston, and what you need to do to set yourself up and what to look for. So with that, let's get at it. What's going on, guys? My name's Lior and welcome back to my channel. Now, if this is your first time on my channel, before we get into it super quickly, if you guys don't know, I am a real estate agent right out of Boston with Buy Boston. If you're returning and have seen my videos, you know you see I just switched companies, which I did. It's a new year, new me, everything's going right. But two super quick things, guys. If this is your first time on my channel, first of all, as I said, welcome. Second of all, make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. I put out tons of new videos every single week covering everything under living in Boston and, of course, buying homes around the Boston market. And number two, guys, if you're thinking about doing anything with real estate around the greater Boston area, whether it's buying, selling, investing, or whatever it is, I still can't believe how many calls we get each and every single week from you guys watching our videos, and I am still blown away each time it happens, and of course super thankful. So if you're looking to make any move, make sure you hit me up and I will definitely help you out. So let's get right into it and talk about multifamily. So as I said in the beginning, multis have been extremely hot, right? Most of 2021, and I think really all of 2021, they were one of the most competitive segments of the real estate market. I mean, you know, your best buildings are flying off the shelf. And this is for a variety of different areas around Boston, right? I mean, this could be for your kind of more established areas, I call them, right? Areas like Watertown, Somerville, Belmont, Arlington, right? Kind of your real, you know, your kind of higher end markets. And even for your more growing markets, right? Like your Everetts, your Maldens, Revere's, Chelsea, Dorchester, right? All of these markets within, I'd say, 15 to 20 minutes of Boston have just been absolutely on fire for multifamily. I mean, product is moving. Now, if you look at inventory online, right, if you go on whatever, Zillow, Realtor.com or anything like that, you may notice that there are some buildings that do sit on the market longer. Now, the reason for that, right, there are certainly situations like that. Now, the reason typically a building may not fly off the shelf, just so you know, there's usually a couple of different things that could be going on. Most obvious is the building might just be overpriced, and that's kind of like a seller that's not just, you know, not really willing to be reasonable. Another potential reason is the building is kind of funky, right? So as you start walking a lot of multifamilies, you'll see that some buildings can just be funky in terms of how they're laid out. Things like ceiling height. You know, there's just like weird funkiness to some building that really detracts a lot of buyers and makes the building sit. Or another possible situation is maybe not ideal tenant situation, right? So maybe there are tenants in the building that are paying below market rents or even significantly below market rents. That's very common with old multifamily around Boston. So, you know, there are, as I said, there are certainly situations where you can see buildings sit and not fly off the shelf even today, but those are probably going to be the reasons as to why that's happening. So whether you're going to be an owner occupant, right, someone looking to buy a multifamily to live in one unit and rent out the other unit or two, or you're just going to be an investor looking to buy the units and rent everything out, or condo the building, whatever your game plan is, they're going to be, you know, if you're going to go after the best buildings and the best locations, you need to know it's going to be competitive, right? It's going to be very competitive. So if you're going to go chase these buildings, you know, you have to be ready to face the competition, right? And what that means is, you know, if a building comes out, you know, you're typically going to have to offer over asking on the good buildings, right? So, you know, you can't try to offer below ask or even at ask at a lot of these buildings. Usually you have to give out a little bit, at least a little bit over ask. You know, there's been multifamilies we've submitted offers $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 over asking within the last 3 months and have not gotten those offers accepted. So it is very competitive and you are gonna have to pony up. Other things you're probably gonna have to think about is things like inspection contingencies, right? I don't remember the last time I got a multifamily offer accepted on a brand new listing with an inspection contingency. Just doesn't really happen. Now there are tricks around it, right? So sometimes we do things called inspections for informational purposes only. And there's other times where, depending on the situation, right? If you're gonna do a full renovation, right? Maybe you're gonna spend $300,000 and redo the whole building. You might not necessarily need an inspection because you're gonna redo everything. Maybe we do like a contractor walkthrough or something, right? But basically we have to get a little creative, right? Because your typical inspection contingencies are just not going to fly for those extremely competitive buildings. You know, some of these buildings are literally getting 20 to 30 offers plus. Yes, even in the winter, we just had a situation in December, like a week before Christmas, right? Where we put an offer in for a buyer and they literally had 30, I think it was like 30 or 35 offers, right? So it is very competitive and you have to put up your best foot forward if you're gonna wanna grab one of these best buildings. Or your alternative, of course, is you can try to go after some of the funkier buildings. You know, maybe you're willing to accept some sort of quote unquote deficiency, right? Whether it's a little funkiness in the layout, you know, ceiling height, whatever it is. Maybe you're willing to deal with a low paying tenant for a little bit, right? So if you're willing to kind of deal with other stuff, you know, maybe then the ball kind of changes a little bit towards your court and you can get a little bit more conservative with how you offer. But again, unless you're willing to deal with that, if you're gonna go after the most competitive stuff, be ready to show out. So with all that being said, you might be asking yourself, well, if it's so crazy out there and so competitive, is it even still worth for me to buy multifamily? And my personal opinion is a resounding yes. If you guys have seen my other videos, or if you've seen my other channel, my investing channel, you know that I own quite a bit of multifamily as well around the Boston area. I am still extremely high on Boston real estate for the next 3 to 5 years. I think as long as, and I know I've said this before, but as long as you're taking the mentality that, hey, I'm gonna buy this building at the right price today, I'm not gonna overpay, and I'm willing to sit on it for somewhere 3 to 4 year range, maybe even longer, right? If you've got that mentality, I think you're gonna do super well. Boston's continuing to grow. There's mega projects continuing to be built, infrastructure getting put in, you know, housing is sorely needed around the city. So again, if you're buying correctly today, I still think there's a lot of opportunity to be capitalized on. But with that being said, as I mentioned, you know, if you are going to be competing today, you obviously still need to put the rational hat on, right? Anytime we submit offers for buyers, whether it's single families, condos, or multis, right? We still want to do careful analyses, right? We want to make sure we're not overpaying today, right? Because there's no sense in buying a building and being underwater or in the red from day one, right? That doesn't really make sense to me. So, you know, we still do really careful analysis, make sure the values are there, make sure the proper rents that you think you're gonna grab for your units is definitely there, and kind of work a game plan from there. So, you know, taking all that into account, I think the opportunity is there. You just have to be rational, be willing to put in the work, and of course, do careful analysis, which is of course what me and my team do for buyers all the time. So that's my take on multifamily in 2022. Of course, if you guys have any questions, any thoughts, concerns, whatever it is, make sure to hit me up directly or just put them in the comments below.